Thank you, merci Angela. Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis très fier d'être ici avec vous. I'm really happy to be here with you today. And I want to thank you for coming to visit us politicians in our natural habitat here at Queen's Park. It's important. You got to come and speak to us, talk to us, tell us about your experiences. And it's a big effort, and I want to thank you for that. And I also want to thank Doris. I've known Doris for a while now. So what I do know is beside the word relentless in the dictionary, there's a photograph of Doris. I know that. I have the warm feelings and the scars that go with it. But you know, that's why we have best practice spotlight organizations. That's the role that Doris and all of you play in trying to improve healthcare for Ontarians. And I remember the first meeting that I came to speak, Doris asked me to speak, and I got onto the website and I went through all of them really quickly. So I'd know, and there was a lot of them, so I didn't, and I was really impressed. I have a particular interest in palliative care, and there was one in there inside, it was 3 or 4 years ago. So you know, you're the face of healthcare to patients across Ontario. You're who they see. So we have to see you so we can essentially see them. And I want to thank you for all your advocacy. And you know, it's we're different. It's a bit of a different role now. I'm an interim leader. You know, we got sent a very clear message in the last election, and it's, you know, it's one that you have to accept with humility and a commitment to do better. And but politics is cruel. And about 3 months ago, I was in question period and asked Doug Ford, Premier Ford, a question. And his response to me was, well, to the leader of the minivan party. And I was like, oh, it's like, that's not right. It's not fair. I have to say to him something. So I got up and I responded, that's the interim leader of the minivan party. You know what? Here's what I know about minivans. We build them in Windsor. They're born in Windsor. Moms and dads drive minivans. Minivans are the workhorse of many businesses across Ontario. So if that's what they're going to call me, I'm good with that. And more importantly, I was the PA to Health in the last government, and I'll talk a bit more about that later. But the most important thing that you need to know about me is that I am the son of a nurse. Mary Fraser, 35 years at National Defence Medical Center. So she was a civilian nurse, so she always worked the floors. 35 years, she has 2 prosthetic hips to show for it, and really hard terrazzo floors. And last September, she had a stroke. She had a stroke with my sister. She got to the hospital quickly. She had excellent care, really great care. What it reminds you, though, is while she was there in the ICU and she wasn't able to speak, and we're wondering what's going to happen to Mom, you know, who's cared for so many people for so long, all of us, like what's going to happen to Mom? Nothing else matters. And you know that because you see that in the families that are there and the people who you're caring for. Nothing else matters. Your car doesn't matter, where you're going on vacation, your job doesn't matter, if you're in the middle of a degree, it doesn't matter. And that's what Ontarians send us to Queen's Park to take care of. It's the number one thing. That's our greatest responsibility. And that really got driven home to me. I do have one question, though. Why is it that nurses resist care? So we get to the Q&A. If somebody wants to stand up and answer that question, that's my reverse question, and you all know it's true. It's very frustrating. Now, we're all taking care of her at home. She's at home, and she's doing well. She's about 90%. She swims 4 times a week, but we just can't leave her alone just yet because she has problems getting dressed and using the phone. But so we're all we're sort of, I'm the night nurse 2 nights a week. I stay overnight, and I'm not much of a nurse. And I would like to have followed her into healthcare, but my life took me in a different direction, and it took me 40 years to be able to do what I'm doing today. And I feel very, very grateful to be able to do that, to be elected and to have a chance to talk about healthcare, to try and change healthcare, to have been the PA to Health. So Here's the other thing, having a nurse in your family eliminates a lot of emergency room visits. Right? A lot, yeah. No, well, there's a solution to primary care there. Just a nurse in every family. Because we're always called, even the grandkids, we're always called, everybody knows that here, right? You're all there, right? You're not getting paid for it either, which maybe works out for government, but not as much for you. But you love your families and your friends, and that's why you do it. So I'm not going to rail against the government. I'll do that when they're there. They're not here right now, and you don't need to hear that, because you saw some of that today. What I want to talk about is, and we know there's big changes coming. I'm concerned about those. I'm concerned about those because when you turn something upside down, the people who get hurt are the people at the end of the line, right? Are the patients and their families and the people delivering frontline care. So my caution to the government, and this isn't railing against them, is be very careful when you're implementing change. Very careful. I know things seem to be incremental in Ontario, but there's a reason for that. We all want it to be faster, but sometimes when you go too fast and do too much, and we've all seen it, people get hurt. And what do they send us to do? They send us to take care of that thing that says, when I'm sick, or my son or daughter's sick, just make sure it's there. That's what I want you to do. That's what they ask us to do. So we know we have these persistent problems. Long-term care wait lists, ALC challenges in hospitals. A lot of that just folds back into primary care. So, when Doris mentioned that, that's kind of at the root. That's a root solution to that. And you don't need to turn things upside down to start getting results. I had the chance to work on scope of practice when I was in government, and when I got there, it was like it's glacial. Like it recedes or moves forward 3 or 4 inches every year. It can never get done. We turned it over to say, let's work on skills and competencies, as opposed to, okay, what are we going to do with the physios, and what are we going to do with the chiros, and what are we going to do with the nurses? And it's like, no, what are we going to do about prescribing? What are we going to do about minor diagnosis? Right? What are we going to do about diagnostic testing? It's the right approach, and I encourage the government to do 2 things right now, but more things as far as scope of practice goes. Well, 3 things. Continue on a competency-based approach. Don't try to sort everybody out in this milieu of practitioners all over the place. What are the best things for patients in competencies, and look at the professions and make those changes. Finish up RN prescribing. The job's not done, it needs to get finished. Government needs to do that. Point of care testing for nurse practitioners. I'm to get it done. I'm not trying to be critical. I know it's hard. I know you have to I know changing scope is a difficult thing. All right? From the sense of the machinery of government. But it's a good solution to those primary care problems that we have. And if we solve those things, if you make those kind of changes that are incremental and will have a big impact, you're going to start to address that primary care challenge. So 94% of people have access to a primary care practitioner, but not when they need it, for what they need it. Got to fix that. That's the problem. Got some challenges with distribution. So those are the things that I think I want to leave some time for questions. I could talk, because I'm a politician, I could talk all day, and as I'm starting to do right now, I do have one thing. I have a passion for palliative care that I've kind of had to park for a bit, because I've got this other job of rebuilding and pulling the party together and making sure that we can continue to fight for those things that are important to Ontario. Even though there's only 7 of us, we get 1 question a day and 20 minutes of debate. And where we have the biggest impact sometimes is the scrum in the hallways and social media and in communities with people. So I had to park palliative care to a certain extent for now. What I want to say is, I think right now that is an incredibly important part of caring for people. It's really very heartbreaking when you see people not being able to get access to care at the end of their lives. Because often the things that they need are not complicated. It just takes people working together. It takes access. It takes teamwork. I first got exposed to it in the mid-90s when I was a volunteer and watched how a palliative care team inside a hospital, including volunteers, work together as a team. So I just wanted to put that pitch in there because I like to speak about it anytime I get a chance. I don't get the chance to talk about it enough in my current work. Once I get finished being the interim leader, then I'm going to be really happy to be able to pick up palliative care and health care, because that's why I'm here. That's why I ran. That's why I got elected. And that's why I'm going to continue to work. That's the most important thing to Ontario families. And I want to thank you very much for your time and attention. And I hope the questions aren't too tough. I'll do my best. And thank you very much. Merci for everything that you do and for taking the time to listen to me.